I'm well. How are you, Arrow?
Absolutely perfect, because you're not an AI-generated avatar on LinkedIn. You're an actual person.
I am IRL in the flesh, which probably means I'll goof up and make some mistakes, say something I shouldn't.
I'm so glad that you're taking this out to the public, because we need directions, we need solutions, and you know what? In radio, we would call this great content.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So at Hello Monday, like we drop into any podcast player on a Monday morning with practical, pragmatic advice for our listeners. Because here's the thing. No matter what your job is today, my guess is you are a little worried about the fact that it may not exist in 5 years.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Right. But you're going to need a paycheck in 5 years. I mean, most people will. A few lucky people may not. And more important, I actually think you're going to need something really interesting to do with your time in 5 years. And you are going to be able to use the things you know how to do right now today to get both of those. But you're going to have to be really smart along the way. And we at Hello Monday, we want to help you be smarter.
You know, you bring up a very interesting point about time, because most people don't know what to do with their time. They're either on their smartphone or they're playing around with their VR goggles.
Yep. Well, I mean, I have to say that right now, being on your VR goggles is kind of a fun game to play. Like, I don't judge you for that. But you need more. You need to be so smart about how you're thinking about managing your career, right? Most of the people who listen to Hello Monday, it's not enough for them to just have a job. They don't want just a paycheck. They're thinking about their work differently. They're thinking about their work in the context of their life. And they're thinking, where do I take what I know how to do? So at Hello Monday, we have people on this show. We have all kinds of guests, from Adam Grant, the Wharton professor, to Matthew McConaughey in Hollywood. They're coming to talk to us specifically about the decisions they make in their own careers and about their things they're studying, the things they're learning. They bring us important lessons. Like we got an episode this week, actually, that featured Susie Welch. You remember Jack Welch, the business guy from the 20th century, probably the most important business guy of the 20th century? He and his wife, Susie, became incredibly smart about how to manage careers. Now, he recently passed away during the pandemic, and Susie has gone on to become a business professor at NYU. She teaches the most popular business course at NYU, and it is on one thing, and that is how to define your values. I don't know, Arrow, if this is something you have thought about recently, but I'm going to tell you that even I host a business podcast, but I don't think a lot day to day about what my values are.
Right.
And there's an important reason to think about that, which is that your values are sort of like Google Maps for your career, right? You pull up Google Maps when you need to figure out where you're going, whether it be the supermarket or whether it be like how to get to Florida from Charlotte, and you can use Google Maps as a tool to guide you. Your values can work the same way for your career. You can say, well, maybe I just got laid off, or maybe I just really hate my job and I want a new one. What should I be thinking about? Let me consult my values. Anyways, that's the kind of stuff we talk about on Hello Monday.
You went the route of Google Maps. I do Google Calendars. That is my boss. That is my discipline. That's how I get things done.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so when everything goes right, let's take your Google Calendar, let's make it your values. If you had to say, like, what are the top 3 things that are the Google Calendar of your career values, what would they be?
First thing I want to do is I want to figure out how I'm going to be part of the community. That is number one in my life. I've got to do something that is going to involve people and to help change their lives in the way of making it better. The next big thing would have to be, how am I going to improve my home, not a house, but a home, so that I can have another 15, 20 years inside this home and take care of these trees. My God, those trees are so important to me here.
We've got great trees too, and they are so important. They're so important for the what they have to offer the larger world, not just for your home, actually.
So true, so true. That's like yesterday I was watching a story on the importance of bees, that all things living, trees, everything, we wouldn't have them if it wasn't for bees. And that's the kind of stuff that gets my attention, which is the kind of stuff that you put on Hello Monday. It's the kind of stuff that knocks on your heart going, hey, by the way, this is going on around you. I just want to let you know.
Yeah. Have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And in fact, by the way, maybe you haven't thought about this, but we're going to tell you, you should think about it. And by the way, don't be nervous about it. We're going to help you think about it in a way that makes you feel empowered and like you have agency and you can do something about it.
One of the things that you cover that I could totally relate with is ageism. I knew when I turned 50 years old that terrestrial radio would start looking a different direction. I was too old for the business.
And then what'd you do?
I took up podcasting, baby. I went all the way, man. I became my own boss.
And that is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like you have a set of skills. You have a few things that you are exceptional at, Arrow. I can tell. We're talking right now. And what that looked at like for the first part of your life, that looked like a radio job. But what that looks like for the second part of your life, well, right now it looks like a podcast. Who knows what it'll look like in 5 years? But what you do know is that you're going to take the things that you're really great at and you're going to transform them into the next opportunity.
You are so right about that, because everything that I do with my disciplines is because of program directors that shape me all the way through the career. And you know, you've got to fine tune it. But you know what, though? You put focus on Kal Penn, and Kal Penn has always been one of my heroes, only because he took his acting skills to that level of serving the community.
Well, Kal Penn is so interesting, right? And like, I love him as an actor, dating back to his very first movie, Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
He is so amazing, right? But I think that I was surprised to learn that actually he took a hiatus from Hollywood and he went and worked in the White House. And no, not as an actor in the White House, by the way, as an aide, right?
Yes.
He joined the White House during the Obama administration. He literally submitted a resume the same way that you or I might submit a resume. Can you imagine, Arrow, the day that you picked up that resume and you looked and it said Kal Penn and you thought, the Kal Penn? Yeah. That'd be so weird. But here's the thing about Cal's story, which is why he would even be on Hello Monday. I think too often society decides that we're one thing, right? Like you're a radio host, or maybe you went to med school, you're a doctor, or maybe you went to law school, you're a lawyer, or a nurse. And we don't open our mind to the fact that none of us are one thing. We are all multiple things.
Yes.
And we have the capacity over the course of our life to have multiple careers doing really, really disparate and different things.
See, that's the reason why I keep a defrag journal, because I want to break it down, and find out where it is that I can go and where I can lead.
I love that, a defrag journal. Tell me how you keep it.
Basically, what you do is you ask yourself the questions and question the answers. We rely so much on asking other people questions, and then when they fail us, then we blame ourselves. We don't blame them.
Yeah. Gosh, you are so true. In fact, we just had a guest, this guy, Jeff Wetzler, who has written an entire book. It's called Ask, on how to ask the kind of questions that produce useful answers.
Yes.
And you know what? A huge portion of that book is focused on asking yourself the right questions. It's exactly that.
Yep, and you know, and it's not conceited to try to make yourself unforgettable. What it is, it's being a leader, because I swear that people feed off our energy and how we see, you know, we put ourselves out there in the community. It's almost like they go, I want to be like that, but how do I be like that?
Yeah. That's entirely true. And, you know, what I see is that more and more what you're talking about, which is really presentation. LinkedIn's a great tool for it, but certainly not the only tool. It's part of the job. It's part of what it means to be a leader, to be a professional. It's a kind of, I really hate this word, but it's a kind of personal branding that we all have to do if we want to grow in our careers.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll sit there with, especially with these people that are just graduating from college and high school right now as we get into the summer months. I'll go, teach me something. I want you to put focus on something where I learn something from you, and I will give you something back.
I think you've nailed it. And in talking about that, you also talk about the thing that is probably the most central muscle to building a strong career, right? And that is curiosity.
Yeah.
Like wherever you sit. And by the way, curiosity is the first thing to go when we are burnt out, you know? And burnout has been just so much a part of our lives, post-pandemic in particular. But curiosity is that muscle, that fire inside, that if you can fuel it, if you can get it going, it will do the work. It will take you to the next place you need to go.
Dr. Sue talks about optimism at work, and there's one thing that hit my heart right away. I'm going, okay, there's got to be something after optimism. How about activation?
Well, optimism allows for activation,
Yeah, it does.
right?
Yeah, it does.
You know, Dr. Sue Varma was a guest we had recently, but what really interested me about her is she is a psychiatrist, and in 9/11, she was in New York City, and she was training as a med student, and she noticed as she was treating in the aftermath of the towers falling, as she was treating survivors, there were some people for whom these awful tragedies didn't seem to have a huge impact on what they believed about the world. They still had positive outlooks, and they just seemed less fragile. And she was like, what is this about? And of course, we all want to be that resilient version of a person. We all want to walk through a world with many hardships because the world just does have many hardships and figure out how to be like leaders and to believe in the future of humanity and to believe in our purpose. And what she came back to was that like optimism, that people who are sort of oriented to experience their glasses as half full are people who are also oriented to navigate difficult things. And so how can we all be that way? And that actually, it's like exactly what Hello Monday tries to do. We want to land every Monday morning with a like quick lesson that will cheer you up for the week ahead, whatever the week holds. And that one, that's a cheery one.
Don't you think optimism actually begins with uncrossing your arms and stop leaning on the desk, sit up straight and breathe properly?
Gosh, you're saying that, and I'm over here uncrossing my arms as we speak and putting both feet on the floor. And yeah, I do. I do think that, because what you're talking about is what you actually said earlier. Gosh, I love talking to you, Arrow. It's energy, right? It's the energy that you are inviting into yourself and therefore the energy that you are putting out into the world.
Yet there are many people that I've bumped into during my radio career that have looked at me and said, I don't need Mr. Positive today. I need you to be real with me and get negative like I am right now because we've got to get an answer.
Well, humans have a negativity bias. It's programmed into us, right? It is the thing that kept us looking over our shoulder in the early days when we lived in caves and were worried that wild animals were going to eat us. It served us. It helped humans survive. But right now, in a world that is this unpredictable and this chaotic, it is not serving us. That negativity bias is getting in our way.
Mm-hmm. You know, Michael Norton hit something very positive on your podcast, Hello Monday, in the way that it helped me understand the difference between habits and rituals. Because people will say, "Oh, you're just ADD. You can't stand change." No, I just have certain rituals that need to fall into place for this day to play out.
I love Michael Norton. He's a professor at Harvard Business School. His whole idea around the idea that rituals are like habits, but better. They're like habits with emotion connected to them, right? Like a habit is like, I pull my kid out of his bed every morning. I tell him he has to go to kindergarten. I beg him to brush his teeth. I put him out the door. That's our habit. But the ritual is the cup of coffee that I make myself every morning. It's the way I make it. It's the way I hold it. It's where I have the first sip and the way that it wakes me up. And it wakes me up because I look forward to it. I'm emotionally connected to it. Frankly, I don't think it matters that the coffee has caffeine or not.
Whoa.
It still does its job because it's part of this ritual. Now, why does this matter, Arrow? It matters because if we think about the things that are important to us, we can actually proactively design rituals that support them. And that is what that episode explores.
Wow. How about the confidence gap? I never even thought about that until I was listening to Hello Monday.
Gosh, I'm really glad to know that Kelly Thompson's episode made it into your ears. Kelly Thompson is an incredible listener of Hello Monday who also is a guest, because a lot of what we do on Hello Monday is we are a community of people. The people who listen to the podcast, and we've been dropping these episodes basically every Monday for 5 years. Yeah. We also show up on Wednesdays to talk about them in a community. And Kelly showed up for our Wednesday talk. It's a virtual talk. Anyone can come. You can talk with me. You can talk with the other listeners. She showed up and she said, I just really want to talk about this confidence gap, this way in which I, as a woman, feel like I don't have the confidence that my peers have and how to solve for that. And so we had her on the show to talk about it. And Arrow, if you want to hear more about that one, you are going to have to listen to that episode. And I really hope you will.
I have. I've experienced it. And I love that idea that she talks about that, because it helped me look at the room entirely different in the way of going, oh my God, we're not all the same. We're never going to be the same. And so it's like, if they've got a shortage on confidence, what am I going to do as a leader to go help build up their confidence?
I love that question. And by the way, she talks about the confidence gap in relation to women. But I think anybody who has ever been the only in any room, whether you're a person of color or a gay person or a man in a room full of women, has experienced that pullback where you're less confident, and we can all support each other in making more room to hear from each other.
Wow. You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future because Michael's going to kick me out of here because I took up too much time in our last conversation. So, man, you got to please come back.
I love talking with you, Arrow, and I would love to have you on Hello Monday anytime.
Excellent. Well, you be brilliant this weekend, okay?
Yeah, have a good one.